Hi, this is Martin for Revelation Software, and welcome to another quick start guide in my series looking at getting started with OpenInsight. Now, the topic of this particular application is going to be having an entry form into your application. There are two main ways. Now, I'm creating myself a new demo application which I'll launch here just for a moment. Now, this particular application is all based around an MDI window. So this is a main MDI window, and from here I can go into window and I can launch my Archer window. I could launch another Archer window if I want to. I can go ahead and launch a bow window, and I could launch a sights window. I can open up all of these windows within the MDI frame as MDI children, and when I've finished, what I can do is just very simply go into here and close down the main MDI window, and it closes down everything within the application. Now, within the clinic application, we're doing things slightly differently. If I launch that one, we're just going straight into this patient entry window at the moment, and in a real application you might have a patient entry window, you might have a medications window, you might have a reports window, several. And where you've got individual windows that are opening up like this, not as MDI children, then it probably makes sense to have an initial window that you will open which will have buttons that will launch these individual windows, and that's what we're going to be doing today. However, before I do that, what I want to do is just go back to our patient entry window, and I just want to revisit some of these buttons that we were creating yesterday. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to delete these two buttons, and what we'll do is we'll drop onto the form three buttons. So I'm going to right mouse click here just to drop on the other two buttons, and we'll just move these up so we can see them. Okay, and I'm just going to very quickly change this one to be save. I'm not going to worry about naming conventions and things, we covered that just a moment ago, but I'm going to have a third one which is cancel and another one which is close. And I could have left this one, I guess, but we'll go into here and we'll just change the event on there to be close the window. So we'll OK that one, and this one is going to be an event which is to write the row, and this one is going to be just that we will clear the form. Okay, now if I just go back to the save button and we look at the properties window, we already looked at disabling buttons, and we can make them visible and invisible, and we can set all of the anchoring, etc. But there's a few more options on here, and we've got a default push button, a cancel push button, and we can combine text and bitmap. Again, I'm not going to get too involved with that. What we're interested in are these two items here. Now, if I just accept the defaults there and we'll just run the form, what I can do is I can just hit my return key and it will just take me through the prompts, which is quite nice. However, on a lot of Windows applications you will have a particular button that is assigned to the escape key and the enter key. So when the user hits the enter key, it will run the default button, and when the user hits the escape key, it will normally clear the form. Now that's not happening in my form at the moment, which arguably may well be not keeping with Windows standards. And you'll also notice that the three buttons, they look the same at this precise moment in time. So let's just close out of the window. No, we won't save. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the save button, and I'm going to make that my default push button. So now what's going to happen is when somebody presses enter on their keyboard, maybe they don't want to use the mouse for the data entry, but when they hit the enter key, it's going to save the record. And the other thing that I want to do is on the cancel button, I want to make that my cancel push button. So we'll click OK, and then we'll test run. And this time, if I now try and enter to go to the title and the forename, so if I just push enter, it's actually going to fire off the save button, and you can see here that the save button actually looks different to the other two, showing that that's the default. So if I just hit the enter key there, you'll see that that's actually fired off the save event, and it's actually saved that record. Okay, I might not want to do that because I've just saved an empty record, but you get the idea. You would need to enable and disable that button as we did yesterday. But now, instead of hitting enter to go through the form, what I'm actually having to do is hit the tab key to go through them, using the tab order that we set previously. Hitting enter is now going to save it, or it's going to fire off that default. By the same token, if I was to put into here a name, and I decide that I've had enough, I can either click the cancel button, or I can actually hit the escape key, and you'll see that very quickly there it put the little dotted line to show that that had been clicked, and it's now actually fired off the clear event, which is now saying, do I want to save the changes? No, I don't, and it will clear the form. It hasn't actually closed the form, it's just cancelled that particular data entry. So that's basically setting the button so that when you hit the escape key, that event fires rather than clicking the button. And then the close button obviously just closes out of the form. So it's useful just to bear in mind that you've got the default push button and the cancel push button. And of course your default push button could quite easily be the cancel, so you're not actually saving an empty record. However, that could annoy people if they've entered a lot of data into their form and then they just hit the enter key by mistake and find that they've cancelled out. So you need to think about those sorts of things.